Lesson 6.8, Factoring Square Trinomials. These are special trinomials. And these are nice because they don't require us to do all the work we've been doing with big giant X's or factor and sum tables. First, we need to know what is a square trinomial. A square trinomial is a trinomial that was created by squaring a binomial. So for example, if I had x plus 4 squared, that gives me x plus 4 times x plus 4, which gives me x squared plus 8x plus 16. Squaring a binomial has one of the following patterns. If this is a plus, these are all pluses. We square the first, we square the second, and then we multiply the first times the second together. First times the second together times 2. So I squared the first, x squared. I squared the second, 4 squared is 16, and then I said x times 4, which is 4x, times 2 to give me 8x. If we have a subtraction here, we'll have a subtraction here. So this sign matches this sign matches that sign, and this is always positive because it's a perfect square, and a perfect square is always positive. So if you recognize the pattern, you can work backwards and you'll always know what the factored form is. So how we recognize the pattern, sorry, I don't know what happened there. We look and we say perfect square, and we ask if this is a perfect square, and then we take the square root of them, and is this 2 times the square roots? So x squared is a perfect square, square root of x squared is x, square root of 16 is 4, 2 times 4 times x is 8x, that matches, so we are a perfect square trinomial. Let's try our second example. Square root of x squared is x, so square root of 9, oh wait, this is not a perfect square trinomial because we cannot have this be a negative number, it has to be positive. Let's try this. These are all positive. Square root of x squared is x. The square root of 25 is 5. 2 times 5 times x is 10x. Does not match, so we're not a perfect square trinomial. Square root of x squared is x. The square root of 25 is 5. 2 times 5 times x is 10x. It does match, so we are a perfect square trinomial. And this is the pattern, we just keep checking. The square root of 4x squared is 2x. The square root of 25 is 5. 2 times 2x times 5 is 4 times 5, which is 20x. 20x, it matches, so we are a perfect square trinomial. Not a perfect square, so no. The square root of 49 is 7. The square root of y squared is y. 2 times 7 times y is 14y. We match, so yes. Not a perfect square, so no. Not a perfect square, so no. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 1 is 1. 2 times 1 times x is 2x. So we do match, so we are. Okay, once you know how to recognize a perfect square trinomial, now we need to factor them. So here we have an example. What I do is I take the square root of the first term and the square root of the last term. Square root of x squared is x. The square root of 25 is 5. I get x plus 5 squared this matches that. So let's try another one. Square root of x squared is x. The square root of 81 is 9. And I'm just going to double check. 2 times x times 9 is 18. So I get x minus 9 squared. If we have a number in front that's a perfect square, that's okay. We still take the square root of it. I do 2 times 6, which is 12, times 2 is 24. It is a perfect square. You always want to double check that. So this will factor to 2x plus 6 squared. Square root of 25x squared is 5x. The square root of 121 is 11. 5 times 11 is 55, times 2 is 110. So I have 5x minus 11 squared. Okay, sometimes when we look at things, they're not exactly perfect squares yet, but always, first step, anytime you want to factor, our first step is always to look for a GCF. I have a 27, a 90, and a 75. This is not perfect squares, but these all divide by 3. So when I take out the 3, I see that I have 2 perfect squares. So I take the square root of each of these. 3 times 5 is 15, times 2 is 30. So now I know it's a perfect square trinomial. So this is going to be 3 times 3x plus 5 squared. Here I have 8x squared minus 40x plus 50. These will all divide by 2. Now I have some perfect squares, so I just double check to make sure it works. 2 times 5 is 10, times 2 is 20. So this will be 2 times 2x minus 5 squared.